So we're in the middle of the seventh Mishnah of the ninth chapter of Bava. We've got this complex interrelationship between theft and fraud and breach of trust or false oath. And they all require the repayment of the value plus an extra fifth. So that is the story so far. And the Mishnah then picks up with a quotation from the person who is wronged. And he says, Echan pikdoni, where is my deposit? So this guy has left money with his solicitor on trust, or he's left an object of value with his neighbor to take care of when he goes off on a holiday. Maybe he's gone off on a cruise and he's taken his his favorite bicycle, and he's left it with his neighbor to take care of while he's on his cruise. So he comes back and he says, Echan pikdoni, where's my deposit? Where's this thing I gave you? And the guy holding the deposit says, oh, avad. He said, oh, it's gone lost. It's got lost. I just put a $10,000 bike in your care and it's just got lost. So what does the owner of the bike say? He says, Mashbiacha ani, I'm going to make you swear. And that's the halacha. We're going back to our core Seder of Mishpatim, the halachot that we learned in the book of Exodus. And the rule is that you have to swear. So he says, Mashbiacha ani, I'm going to make you take an oath that you haven't somehow kind of done something wrong with it. Maybe you used it. Maybe you went out for a ride on it and it crashed. So he says, Mashbiacha ani, I'm going to make you swear. Ve'amar amen. And he says amen. In other words, he agrees to swear. And the halacha is, the Gemara explains, if he agrees to swear, that is as if it's seen in law as if he'd sworn himself. In other words, by saying amen, by agreeing to swear, it's as if he's sworn an oath. So he says amen. And then what happens? And the witnesses testify that he ate it. Okay, so in the time of the Mishnah, he didn't take the bike for a ride. He ate, or he consumed whatever was deposited with him. He somehow used it. He somehow used it. And witnesses come to prove that he used it. Maybe he was seen riding the bike. So what happens? Mishalem et hakeren. He pays the principal. And at this point, we're going to ask, well, hang on, doesn't he have to pay the fifth? Why does he only pay the principal? And the Mishnah goes on to say, if he admitted of his own accord that he'd eaten it or misused it, he's somehow defrauded someone, he's taken away the money, he's paid away the money that was in escrow, or he's taken the bike and taken it out on a ride. If he admits of his own accord, if he admits it himself, he pays the principal and the fifth, and he brings the guilt offering. So this triple penalty, the principal and the fifth and the guilt offering. And remember, of course, this is the Talmudic fifth. So it's actually 25%. It ends up as a fifth of the total sum. This triple offering only applies if he actually admits it. And that we should be asking questions about that. What difference does it make if he admits it? And the verses that we've looked at never say anything about admitting it. And the Gemara will actually send us over to a third book of the Torah. So we started in Exodus, in the Seder of Mishpatim. We went to Vayikra. Now we're going to Bamidbar. And there are a couple of verses there which are really important. Daber el bnei Israel, ish or isha ki yasu mikol chatot adam. When a person commits any sin, chatot ha'adam, any sins of man. Now, the Torah here might actually be speaking about sins against God, but it's very interesting. Chatot ha'adam. This could be sins against man. And then limol ma'al, to misuse something against the Lord. Ve'ashma ha'nefesh, he and that soul is guilty. Ve'hit vada et chatatam, they have to confess their sin. Asher asu, and then we have the triple. Then they confess, and then they have the triple. Ve'heshivet ashamo b'rosho, and then he's going to return the guilt in full, i.e. he's going to pay the principal. V'chamishito Yosef alav, and he's going to add a fifth, the Talmudic fifth, which is a quarter. V'natan la'asher hasham lo, and he's going to give it to whoever he's guilty to. So it feels, even though the Torah here might be speaking about sins against God, it feels as though we're talking about sins against man here. And he's going to return whatever he's misused. He's going to add the fifth, and he's going to give it to the person he injured. Just as we've said, even if this guy is all the way over in Iran, he has to travel to Iran to make amends. And Rashi says there, Hare Chazar v'chatav kan parshat gozel. Here you see that the Torah has come back and has written down the parsha of the robber, the parshat gozel. We've come back to the parshat gozel. V'nishba al sheker, and the parsha of the person who swears falsely. Hi ha'amura b'parshat Vayikra, that which is already stated in the parsha of Vayikra. So Rashi points to us, and by the way, he's quoting the Sifrei, the halachic midrash on Bamidbar, that these verses here in Bamidbar, they come to flesh out the halachot they come to flesh out the halacha in Vayikra that we've already been learning. So the person has to, not only he has to travel to Iran to make amends, but he has to confess. And if he doesn't confess somehow, he doesn't have to pay the fifth. That's essentially the halacha in the Mishnah, that he doesn't pay the fifth unless he confesses. And the Mishnah then goes on. And then the Mishnah then goes on. So now in the 8th Mishnah, let's say the guy rolls up and says, Eichan piktoni, where's my deposit? It's the same question. Where's my deposit? Ve'amar lo nignav. He said it was stolen. So in this case, he doesn't say, oh, it was lost. He says, oh, it was stolen. So it's the same kind of conversation, right? He claims it was stolen. You deposited this bike with your neighbor while you're on the cruise. He come back to get it. He says, oh, someone broke in and stole the bike. Mashbiacha ani, I'm going to make you swear, he says. The same conversation. Ve'amar amen. And he says, amen. He agrees. Ve'aidim oto sheganvo. And the witnesses testify that he stole it. That he stole it. Not that they saw him out riding the bike. They saw him selling this bike on eBay. He stole it. So what's he going to do? Mishalem tashlume kefar. At this point, he pays twice. Mishalem tashlume kefar. He's like the robber who robs at night. He has to pay back twofold. But, and the Mishnah closes now in a mirror image of the previous one, if he admitted it himself. Mashalem keren v'chomesh ve'asham. If he admitted it himself, he falls under the Sefer Vayikra and Sefer Bamidbar, under the rules of Leviticus and Numbers. Hodame etzmo, he admits it himself. Meshalem Keren vechomesh ve'asham. He pays the principal and the fifth and brings a guilt offering, just like all of the other situations that we've just been studying.